Oh, right. I'm just going to have a ramble about games and GPUs. More so Doom, Dark Age. Finished it just the other day. Right, I don't want to make this sound like too much hate. It's a good game. Get it if you can, as cheap as you can, though. I got it on CD keys. I got the premium thing, so I can get the DLC and stuff. Saved a lot of money that way. Happy I did because it's good, but it's not great. The best one is Doom 2016 by quite a bit. That's like a 9 out of 10. Doom Eternal, I would say, is a 7.5, 8 out of 10. And I would say Dark Age is probably 7 out of 10 for me, to be honest. Doom 2016, I'll play that maybe once a year, once every year and a half, something like that. Eternal, I've played all the way through twice and all the DLC. Dark Age, I'll never play this again. I will play the DLC when it comes out, because obviously it's bought and paid for. But there's nothing in the game to bring me back to it. It looks nice. It runs smooth. Some of the level design is great. Some of it is very mediocre. The dragon bits and the mech bits sound great on paper, and no doubt in the meeting they had sounded great. But in the game, it's like slamming the anchors on from the pace of the speed of the game, and then you're doing this, and you're like, if they did it once, I could live with it, but every time it happens later on, you're like, oh, not this again. It becomes a chore, and it really just doesn't fit at all for my thing of Doom anyway. And it really just made me, after the first time it happened, it was like, okay, that's all right. And then when the next couple of times it gives you to do the flying or the mech thing again, it was like, really, again? And it just felt like padding to the game rather than actually anything else. And there's too many cutscenes. I preferred it when it was more kind of hush-hush about what was going on and who's doing what. The guy just needs sent on a mission. Just kill. That's it. We don't need anything drawn out and too in-depth. And it's better when things are left more of a mystery and you're left kind of guessing in some areas. Kind of like with the mech stuff. It was nice watching them in the background in the previous game. Or maybe coming across ruined ones that were like collapsed or like half broken, and it makes you think of what was that like, or what was happening there, or what would they be like in action. But actually getting in the driving seat of one, it felt like a game from like early 2000s, and it just really didn't work for me at all. Like I say, the story, everything is just like they're trying to make it more like Doom meets Halo meets Gears of War meets Warhammer, and it just didn't need it. Doom 2016 is just so much better. The other thing is as well, I know it's a different team doing the music for it. Music, completely forgettable. It sounds like they're trying to do what's gone before, and none of it is none of it stands out. Apart from maybe I think one track near the end. The only thing, I'm not a music person, I can't really say, but the thing kind of stood out to me was because of the setting, and it's kind of, let's face it, it's kind of Vikingish the way it looks and everything. I'm not sure what kind of instruments you would add, but it needed that kind of Viking feel to the music, and it just, I don't know. There's just something about it that it just, literally, if someone said there was 6 tracks in the whole game, I'll go, okay. But there's not. There's obviously a lot, but it just felt, they all felt the same, apart from, like, say, one near the end that kind of stood out. So that was disappointing as well. The problem is up to about the halfway point, it's kind of better because you haven't got as much upgrades, and you haven't got the kind of certain things that you do get later on. Because once you get these upgrades and these other bits and pieces, the game becomes really easy. Like, and I wasn't playing on Nightmare, but I didn't play it on default. I played it on like the second hardest. I think it's called Ultra Violence or something like that. And once I got about halfway through the game, it just became ridiculously easy. I just played that Expedition 33, where you're obviously doing a lot of parrying and stuff like that. So I honed my parry skills, and the parrying on this game is so easy compared to that one. So literally, you just finding the biggest thing on the map, run up to it, and you literally just shield, parry, shoot, parry, shoot. If your health happens to get low before you kill the big thing, you turn around, you look for a mob on the other side of the map, you just shield teleport to that thing, take a bit of health, come back again, rinse and it just became like that. I actually died more times from falling from heights and the things on the map than I did from the enemy. It's by far the easiest game out of the Doom ones. Like I say, somebody, I was trying to think of a way to sum it up, and somebody did it already on a post. They had this picture of the 3 games, and it had Doom 2016, run and gun, Doom Eternal, jump and shoot, Doom Dark Age, stand your ground, and that's kind of it. You just stand your ground and just parry and just shoot, parry and shoot. It's a shame, but it's certainly a game I won't play through again. I'll say I'll play the DLC, but I won't play the main game again. So my advice is, if you are going to get it cheap. I think it's on Game Pass as well. I believe if you've got an Xbox, if you're going down that path. So yeah. But yeah, Doom 2016 is definitely my thing. Yeah, the best one so far. I don't like reshades on games on the PC side. They tend to be either oversaturated, too dark, or whatever. But there's one I do like, and it's for Doom 2016. It's called the Carmack reshade. There is one option in the reshade. I think it's called Fisheye. You take that out because it just makes it silly. But all the other options it puts in there in the reshade, it looks so good. And it's how I like to play it anyway. But that's me just rambling. My other thing, GPUs, future. The whole changing of cards is going to be a problem, and it's going to be a big problem. And I think it's going to be an even bigger problem for myself. Mainly because when the 5000s were on the way, I had my doubts that these were going to be the thing to get, because the whole AI seems to be getting pushed more than what the hardware was. And as it got closer, it turns out I was right. The 4090 is the second more powerful card because the memory and just the core, everything else. Obviously, the 5080 and the 5070, all that kind of NVIDIA BS, because it needed the whole multi-frame gen to compete. That was no good. Now, don't get me wrong, AI is here to stay. It has to be. If they made a native card, it'd be twice the size, twice the price, twice the power. You're going to need twice the PSU. You're going to need more fans, cooling, everything. And it's not possible for the whole market. You just can't do it. So they need some way of keeping the power draw down, obviously the size down, noise down, everything down. And the only way they can do that is by, frame generation and DLSS and all that kind of stuff. And they need it more so for consoles. Consoles have to have it because otherwise they're going to be more expensive, bigger, noisier, power, everything. So it's here to stay. It's never going to go. Not until I can find a way to make a chip that's so power efficient that it's smaller and it can do all that, and at a price that people are willing to pay. So that's probably not in my lifetime. So yeah, when this actually happened, a lot of people weren't too happy with the 5000s. So I know there's a lot of 4000 owners held off. Now normally you get people who have a card who don't necessarily jump onto the next one that comes out every time, but for a long time more people kept the 4000s than jumping to the 5000s. Now why this is a problem is that when the 6000s come out, they are going to jump. So I think you're going to have even more people trying to get the 6000. Now, as long as obviously NVIDIA doesn't balls it up, but considering they're going to drop down to, I don't think they'll do 2 nanometer. It'll probably be the 3 nanometer chip. You're going to see some good improvements on efficiency and power draw and stuff like that, so they can push things more. And because obviously what's happening with these new ones, with the too heavy reliance on the AI, I do think the 6000s are going to be a better card than what these 5000s were versus the last one, if you know what I mean. And because of that, I think it's going to be even harder to get one. And let's face it, it's not going to be cheaper. It's going to be more expensive, and I think it's going to be even harder to get hold of. Now, the only thing that can really save things is AMD. So with the, is it 9700X was it that came out, for the price that it is and everything like that, if you can get your hands on it, that's a good card considering how much cheaper it is versus the likes of NVIDIA, as long as you're not wanting all the bells and whistles and everything to look as nice as NVIDIA and to run that kind of way. The argument for going to AMD is getting stronger. More so, and it will be for myself, because when I got the MSI Meg Ace thing, motherboard, I think it's is it the 670XE or whatever it was, forget now. This is one of the highest end boards, and the reason why I went that high is because I wanted to keep it throughout the life of the socket. So they said it would support 7,000, 8,000, 9,000. I don't know whether it'll support if they do a 10,000 or whether the boards are now going to change the socket. It's going to change then. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't. I can get more time out of it. But if it does, that's going to be a new board, CPU, and probably RAM as well. Now that is probably going to coincide with when the 6000 comes out, which is obviously going to make it insanity. So there is a chance that if all this happens at the same time, I'm going to have to look at Team Red. I'm going to have to look at AMD. I think the way things are going, not only the ability to get hold of the 6000 when it comes out, but I think they're getting to a point where they're just pricing themselves out. Now I know obviously if you've got a previous one you can sell it and stuff like that and make some money back. Sometimes you can do really good with your money and actually get back more than what you actually paid for the damn thing. If you're lucky, you get the timing right. But I have a lot of worries about getting hold of 6000 and even more so on the pricing. Obviously a lot of that will come down to sales, because if Nvidia is obviously, as things are, you just can't get hold of the 5000s. This is just giving them more reason just to keep putting the price out and bumping it up each time. Well, unfortunately. But again, we live in a generation where all the younger ones are living on the credit cards, and they look at it as GPU, not a case of, do I have enough money in the bank to pay for it? Do I have enough left on the credit card to get on the credit card? No, I'll pay it off over the next year or two. It's fine. In which case, obviously, you pay more back than what you should do. But anyway, yeah, so I am now thinking that if all of these changes happen at the same time, I could end up with an AMD GPU in there next. Obviously, it'll be their 10,000 something, whatever it's going to be. I don't know what numbers they're going to jump to next after these 9,000s. You would think it'd be 10,000, but I don't know whether it'll clash with whatever CPU they're going to bring out, because that in theory will go from 9,000 to 10,000 as well. So I'll have to see what they're going to name it as. But anyway, that's just my rambling thing. As for drivers, I don't know when the next one will be out. From looking around and seeing what's happening, the one that's out now that coincided for the Doom launch, there is more positive than there is negative. Now obviously if you've got one that's black screen and everything's going wrong, that's not what you want to hear. But it does seem to be a step in the right direction. More people seem to be happy with it than unhappy. So there seems to be one step forward. As I say, as for the next one, I'm not entirely sure. I knew when this one would come out. In one of the videos I said there'll be one out for Doom launch. It's too big a game for them not to do a driver for it, really. I'm not entirely sure. I would have to look at the next massive release launch for games to see if there's a possibility of one coinciding with that. But if not, Nvidia being the way they are now, it could be a week, it could be a month. I'm not entirely sure on that front. And again, for people having issues, I keep saying it in previous videos, it's a roll of the dice, I'm afraid. If you've got a driver that works fine now, just leave it for now. You don't need to do any kind of changing if you're not having any kind of problems. If you are wanting to experiment and try these new drivers, keep hold of the driver that you've already got that works, yeah, as a backup. Use DDU, do a clean install of new driver. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, use DDU again, get rid of it, go back to your old driver. That's the only things you can do. And for those people who are having issues as well, again, it's another risky thing. I've said in a previous video, it's worthwhile checking your motherboard BIOS. When was the last time you updated your motherboard BIOS? Sometimes there's actually things on there that they do to your motherboard that pretty much mean that you do need to do it. Some of them can be quite a dramatic change. Sometimes just little things here and there, but and you don't necessarily have to keep updating your motherboard BIOS, but sometimes they'll actually list a BIOS and it'll actually list the thing that they've done that's changed, and sometimes it can be quite a dramatic thing as well. Obviously, doing an update on motherboard BIOS always comes with a risk as well, so you have to follow obviously what they advise, or manufacturing things. There's videos on YouTube, probably people being able to show you actually how to do it and what it entails. For the likes of mine, I can either download the BIOS from the website, from the support page for my motherboard, or I can use MSI Center. And when I do a search, it'll say the new BIOS available, do you want to install it? And I just let it do it. But again, those kind of things come with a risk. And I actually even say on my MSI one, it even says, if there's nothing wrong, everything's working, don't do it. But me being a guinea pig that I am, of course I do it every single time. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say really. Apart from the fact that now after playing that Doom, I'm probably going to reinstall Doom 2016 and play through it again. Yeah. Right. See you later. Bye.